Good evening, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Really kind of excited. I'm ready to do a brain dump, and I know it's going to help me a lot from this point on, and I hope it will help you guys. Saturday, I guess that was yesterday, the 13th, or whenever Saturday was. I had one of the most, I think, important, and I'm going to call it realizations of my entrepreneur career. And it wasn't a paradigm shift. We've all had those. Stephen Covey talks about in the book, uh, his book, is the first person that actually popularized the word paradigm shift. So we've all had those. We understand those. But I think this was a combination of years of observation. And then it was just like, how could you possibly have ever missed this? And I've never talked about it, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. I'm sure I'll be talking about it a lot in the future, but the reality of all business, the emotional state of the market determines your financial success. And I'm going to try to expand on this, but what I'm saying is you can have the best barbecue in the world, the best smoker, you smoke it the longest, the best sauce, you can have the best waiters and waitresses, you can have a really cool business on the inside, and it could be decorated perfectly. But if you're in a town that 3 people died 3 years ago from the last barbecue place, I promise you the emotional state of the market is going to determine your success, period. You have everything in place. Everything's right. You got the best. But the emotional mindset of the market ultimately determines your true upside financial potential. So as it relates to network marketing, there's so much more to this than traditional business or most online businesses. Anything where you're just buying a product and selling a product, because network marketing is a whole different ballgame. And the reason is you can't hire or fire people. You're building a voluntary army. And network marketing is about, it's more of a mindset game than anything. It's a people business. The real product in network marketing is people, and most people are really tainted. And they just are. They're messed up. And they don't understand that they can do all things. They don't get what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. There's just a lot of concepts and ideas that must be part of their foundation before they can move forward. And even when you're with a company where the timing is perfect, the stars have lined up, as Winnie was saying earlier, 10-year-old company that's established and credible and manufactures their own products, and now they're coming to America, timing couldn't be any better. You have to have, in network marketing, you have to have the right team culture. And most teams cannot get along at all. I get along with everybody in APO Go that's outside of our team because I avoid them all. And that's just the truth. I avoid them. And because I figured out, I'm not going to not say what I think. So I figured out, it's taken me a few years, but I figured out how to function in that environment. So I listen in, but I keep my mouth shut. If I say something, it's because I just can't stand it another week. So you got to have the right culture, the right team. You got to believe in the people that you're working with, your sideline, upline, downline, because the bottom line, together, everybody does achieve more. And that's just the way it is. Yeah, I was talking to a guy this afternoon that had downloaded the book, read it, wanted to know more about APL Go. Awesome guy, 33 years old, former military. I love former military people. And I was talking about the book club, and I said, find another organization in the country that takes the time to do that. And I said, you know, the beautiful part about it is I don't have to be there because I've got a competent lady that's done these for years, knows more about it than I ever will as far as facilitating. And it's made a huge impact for people over the last year. So again, that's part of the whole team culture. We all have different strengths and abilities, but there's still, all of us have to get better than what we are, and we have to continue, because personal development is an ongoing, never-ending process. But if you've got all that, you've got everything, you're good. The cold hard facts, in spite of all this, the emotional state of the market determines your financial success. That's the bottom line. And it's in every niche and every business. And the truth, humans have self-preservation built into their DNA. All humans. Honestly, if I said, if I picked out the 3 people or 4 people, maybe 5 people on this team that I trust the most, there's not one person on this team today that at one point in my life, I didn't have 25 that I trusted more. The 25th person I trusted more than anybody on this team. Now, I'm not saying I don't trust you guys at all, but I'm saying it's a process. It takes a while. It's not something that happens like that. So as human beings, we lack of trust. And one of the biggest problems I deal with, you're going to deal with when you're dealing with network marketers is lack of trust when they join. I mean, it's like it all looks good, but you know what? It's all looked good before. So we have to understand who we're dealing with and what they're feeling. And the truth is, the start's going to stop most of them anyway, you know, because we have fight, flight, or freeze built into our DNA. So because of lack of self-awareness or how our body, soul, and mind works, you know, we're really never even taught this at all when we're kids, except maybe on a surface level. And I'm not saying that, I'm not demeaning that, but a surface level at Sunday school. But really understanding self-awareness, how we think, how we view others, and how our body, soul, and mind works together. If we don't get those foundations, then those instincts of fight, flight, or freeze are going to fuel, as we grow older and become adults, many negative emotions and brain cell patterns. The older we get, the worse we get. The older we get, either the worse we get or the better we become. You know, we start feeling unbelievable feelings of jealousy, or what's in it for me every time we're approached with anything. Or we start thinking, well, I'm a victim. Somebody's out to get me. We have total lack of courage. Kids are soft as cotton. Soft as cotton. Mealy mouth, crybaby kids all over the United States. They're afraid to lose. Everybody, their parents were afraid to lose. So now we give away 7th place participation trophies. I got up to bat and I struck out 7 times, but I get my certificate, my participation trophy. Ridiculousness, because their parents stunk at sports. Their parents made them play the sport. If you're going to have any opportunity in the world of being part of the cool kids class, then you have to play sports. It's ridiculous what's gone on in the last 30, 40 years. It really is. So we have adults walking around that are just afraid to fail, afraid to lose, avoiding conflict at all costs. Just agree with them so you don't have to tell them the truth. It's ridiculous. We have all these people that their whole emphasis is on their personal appearance. How am I looking? How am I looking? Is my hair right? It's like every time I didn't check my hair, Dom, and she reminded me, but I don't care. I mean, it's just such a non-factor for me. And they're afraid to calculate risk, to take a calculated risk. They're greed. They move into states of major greed, ego, inferiority complexes, lack of loyalty at a high level. And this is the market. It's the world in which we live today. This is it. That's it. But it wasn't the world after World War II. It wasn't the world after World War II. There wasn't no cotton kids after World War II. There was not. So lack of loyalty, self-preservation, personal agendas, identity politics is the world in which we live. But again, it wasn't after World War II. By the time the war was finally over, after like 6 years, on the deck of an American warship on September 2nd, 1945, after that was over, World War II had claimed the lives of an estimated 60 to 80 million people. Approximately 3% of the world's population was killed in that war. The vast majority of those who died were civilians, including 6 million Jewish people that were killed in Nazi concentration camps during the Holocaust. Unbelievable, unbelievable. The world went through that. Some of us were alive then, some of us weren't. Probably most of us weren't. But you go through 6 years of that, and it's got to give you a different perspective. So a lot of times you guys will hear me talk about foxhole relationships. I talk about that a lot on our podcast, different trainings I've done over the years, because I don't know of a better way to explain it, what I'm trying to communicate. And it's basically the concept is I've got your back, you've got my back, period, end of story. You call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, Dale, you can't fly here. I need you to go rent a van and I need you to be in Iowa in 22 hours. If I really got your back, I'm at Avis renting a van and on my way to Iowa, and I'm not asking any questions. I'm just not asking any questions. I'll take care of me for you, you take care of you for me. And these are the type of relationships take years to develop and are almost impossible in today's fake friends, social media world to develop. Almost impossible. I don't even know if they are possible. So people came back from the war and they were determined and they were appreciative of freedoms and the free enterprise system. They had a deep understanding of sacrifice, hard work, loyalty. And within a few years after the war, economic growth was happening all over the world, multiple countries all over the world. It was an economic boom. Of course, in the United States and Canada, but I mean, everywhere. everywhere all over the world after World War II, because a lot of people were participating in that war, and things were just rolling. You know, people came back from the war determined and appreciative of freedoms, the free enterprise system. They had a deep understanding of sacrifice, hard work, loyalty. They had country and community pride and loyalty to businesses in their hometowns. I mean, you know, they went to the bicycle shop if they needed a bicycle. All the drugstores were owned by Mr. Fitch or whoever. You know, if you needed a TV set, you went to Mr. Wells and got your TV set. You know, there wasn't big chain, even grocery stores back then. You know, it was John Hall's Grocery. So it was a different time, and it created a different level of connection and with people. It created a different type of loyalty. People back after they came back from the war, again, determined, appreciative of freedoms and free enterprise. They had a deep understanding of sacrifice, hard work, and loyalty. And their recreation time was on the weekends. That was the time that they spent with friends and family, with other people in their community. The weekends, Monday through Friday, they weren't playing Angry Birds every night or whatever the latest thing on the phone is. They weren't doing that stuff. You know, they just weren't. They were working. You know, it was a different time and place. They aren't sitting back, coming home and watching a bunch of cat videos every night and just wasting time, you know, trying to keep themselves entertained with Xbox every day. That didn't exist. They worked. And the weekends was time for family and friends, and everybody went to the high school, supported their local high school football games, basketball games. In some areas, they still do that. I remember when I first started 3 or 4 years ago, I went back to Kentucky, and I went to the Toyota Classic, which is a basketball tournament they have there in my local community in Georgetown at the high school. And I remember my dad and mom are season ticket holders to the high school basketball team. Okay. So I'm asking my dad, I said, where are all the kids? Where's all the students? I mean, I wouldn't miss a game when I was in high school. I wouldn't miss a game. He said, they just don't come anymore. He said, they're home playing Angry Birds. No, he didn't say that. He doesn't know what Angry Birds is, but they don't come anymore. And it was just a different time. Roller rinks, bowling alleys. You know, some of you know what those cards are right there. They played card games at least 2 weekends, usually 3 or 4. It felt like when I was a kid. My mom was one of 6 sisters, and they would get together and they'd have a card tournament, 2 or 3 times a month. And who could come would come, and they would rotate different houses. I mean, I spent my whole life watching these cards. And remind me to ask if anybody knows what kind of cards they are. Right there, y'all see them? See that red tin? You know, but playing softball, not missing the county fair, little league games, and that was the world in which we lived. Following World War II in 1946, after everybody came back, more babies were born than ever before, 3.4 million, which is 20% more than the year previously, according to history.com. This marked the beginning of the so-called baby boom. An additional 3.8 million babies were born in 1947. 3.9 were born in 1952, and over 5 million were born every year from 1954 to 1964. Today, at this point, Baby boomers only represent 40% of the population. So baby boomer trends, baby boomers created every trend for years. For years, what are the baby boomers going to need? And in the beginning, it was, what do their parents need? And that's when in 1961, Procter & Gamble came out with Pampers. Actually, somebody did it before them, and then they popularized it in 1970, actually. Pampers. So the market, the parents of the baby boomers, the market, because of the baby boomers, created the trend, created the demand. Again, the emotional state of the market determines your financial upside. What can you really do from a financial perspective? The parents had to have relief from all the dirty diapers. And then again, baby boomer trends are based upon the emotional state of their parents when they were babies. As they grew older, it was based upon them. In 1960, Gerber started selling its baby food in glass jars. Prior to that, they came in cans, like soup cans, only smaller. And once they introduced the glass jars, they would store better, and sales doubled in 22 months. Again, the emotional state of the market determines your financial success. Today, baby boomers hold a large amount of the wealth in North America, making them a prime market segment. As they've aged, baby boomers have shaped the focus of companies. Examples are all the anti-aging products that are on the market you see today. We could get into the shots that you get in your face, and they freeze your face. You know, you see all these stars, a lot of times it looks like they've just, you know, there's like their faces froze. It's like, what happened to them? You know, Zsa Zsa Gabor or whoever. I mean, but it created a whole different market that would have never existed. Anti-aging supplements and products that target that generation. You know, real estate aimed at people who seek and live longer independently. Like everywhere you look here where we are, these senior living complexes are being built all over here, everywhere we look. Why? Because the baby boomers are coming of age. So, you know, transplants, advanced medical technology, and because of all that, baby boomers are living longer than any generation before them. Baby boomers were the first consumer generation where they focused on consuming. Prior to that, it was like my grandparents, probably like many of yours, grew their own garden. Most of what they ate, they grew themselves. They shot their own, you know, their own cows. They raised their own beef cattle. That's what they, I mean, what they raised is what they ate. I mean, it was a different world at that point. And then baby boomers just started consuming. They had more disposable income and they spent it. They grew up in the television age, watching mass media emerge from their living rooms. And again, a lot of people from this generation remember the first TV set, the first one they ever saw. Prior to that, it was listening to the radio, you know, for entertainment. Now TV sets. And so booming into your living room every week, you know, they're being programmed by it's Miller Time beer or the Marlboro Man cigarette commercials, while embracing sexually driven rock and roll, Elvis, Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Is that how you say his name? Ed somebody. Y'all know who I'm talking about. It's a good evening. Y'all know who I'm talking about? That dude. Good evening, everyone. Some of you are old enough. I remember him, watching him at my grandparents. And, you know, it gave us a really different perspective. And it fueled the world's first true mass audiences. Okay, prior to that, the TV, we lived in our own cocoons, in our own communities, in our own people. Then when the TV came in, it's like, look, there's California, there's Johnny Carson and wherever. I remember watching Dragnet. I think that was the name of it. The two cops. It was black and white. Dragnet, Sergeant Friday, and it was always in Los Angeles, California. And I can remember thinking, that don't look like Stamping Ground. That don't look like Stamping Ground. That's different. And it opened up a whole different world. And again, all this kind of just happened just so quickly. And for the first time, we could creep on others and get a glimpse of the outside world. But then the baby boomers grew up. They bought houses, which created the real estate boom. They had kids, which created the pamper baby food minivan boom. And then the baby boomers demanded that their kids go to college. Demanded. And it created debt and student loans. Because about all this time is when credit cards started becoming mainstream. I could go 1,000 different directions. I'm trying to stay right on this tonight. But this generation now is entering its twilight years. Sorry, guys. Their primary concern is quality of life, and being able to control it. By some estimates, up to 75% of Americans' wealth is controlled by baby boomers. So if you step back and you look at it, how are baby boomers spending their retirement savings? Primarily, when asked, surveyed, primarily on their spoiled millennial children who are now having kids themselves. Millennials want it all now, but have never had to work for anything. When asked what was the number one regret, 63% of baby boomers say, how I raise my kids. Because it wasn't, they just wanted their kids not to have to struggle the way they struggle, like all of us feel. But that was the number one response, was how I raise my kids. So baby boomers are also affecting labor markets today because they're remaining in the workforce longer, because they don't want to end up retiring and being a greeter at Walmart, and they're holding on to jobs that otherwise would be filled by the next generation. And this has had a real positive impact on business, because studies have shown a drop in productivity when baby boomers retire due to the loss of organizational intelligence, dedication, focus, social skills, and moral character of those active in the workforce born after 1965. I want to make sure I got the source. This isn't me saying it. I've done a lot of research. I'm just was trying to find research to back up what I was feeling and seeing. Let me continue. So for my entire business career, following the baby boomers and asking myself, what are they going to consume, has given me a more clear vision and business advantage over the years. Baby boomers created the wellness industry. Baby boomers did. They were part of my decision here a few years ago to buy this For the Beach store, because I knew they're retiring and they're going to the beach. There's going to be a bigger market there for people wanting to go to the beach because of the baby boomers. That was a part of it. It wasn't all of it. There was more, but that was part of it. So what has happened throughout history, and you can go back and you can look at the major growth years in network marketing and direct sales and team building, and you can go back and you can look at it. And throughout history, direct sales and network marketing has boomed in a down economy for years. Boom. When the economy goes down, here come more people. Every time the economy slowed down, or where there was layoff or threats of layoff, but it wasn't from the baby boomers. It was the post-war generation people jumped into network marketing. It was the post-war people, the older folks, until they didn't. Because see, it's like Donna and I've talked about this many times. When her dad, when he worked at Lockheed Air Force Base, or out here for years after he got out of the military, and when there was getting ready to be a layoff, he immediately would start painting houses and he would go to work. He would go to work. He, you know, it wasn't going to affect his family. He had 6 daughters to feed. That was the mentality of those. It's a foxhole mentality. It's a work hard mentality. It's a get your thumb out of your mouth mentality. It's like get out there and make something happen. And so in network marketing for years, you can go back to 1932, for many years, every time the economy slowed down or there was a layoff or threats of a layoff, you know, I can remember years ago, and we used to tell people, you know, when you hear about a layoff coming at a big factory in your area, you know, when you hear it, go out, and wherever those people are coming into that factory or leave that factory, every 20 feet, place your bandit sign. Career frustrated, blah, 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 bandit signs every 20 feet. So when they're going into that factory or coming out, they're seeing that because they know, the community knows when so-and-so's getting ready to lay off. And it attracted network marketers for years until it didn't. And what's the date on this? Back in December of 2009, December, I said, why is your MLM downline? Why is it not growing in a down economy? Because for 2 or 3 years, every time I'm talking to somebody that's been around for a while, they were saying, Dale, the economy's bad. Why aren't we should be growing? And why isn't our team growing? Why isn't this taking off? You know, what's changed? What's going on? And so 2009, I just did this video. And what people didn't understand then, back then, they didn't get it, that, you know, we went from 3 network TV stations, now we have cable boxes and we have multiple channels. And those channels have to fill up their stations with information. And something new's been created called the infomercial. And on those infomercials, people are sitting home who are getting ready to get laid off, and they aren't thinking, I got to find an Amway distributor. Let me find a Shackley distributor. I wonder if that Herbalife thing's still around. They're sitting there watching somebody, usually credible or not, is going to show them how to make money with penny stocks or how to make money in real estate. How many real estate infomercials were created? How to make money flipping automobiles, how to make money with tiny little classified ads. Some of you remember that one. You saw it multiple times. Don LaPree. I'm going to show you how to make money with tiny little classified ads, and on and on. So the game changed and nobody knew it. And I'm taking these calls for 2 or 3 years. I'm thinking, what are you not seeing here? What are you missing? The game has changed. It's not 1980 anymore. Again, this was made in 2009, which has been several years ago. 2017. Anybody that listened to my podcast had never heard me one time ever mention cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, none of it. At that time, BitConnect and other Bitcoin scams were running rampant. But on that session, I was getting so many questions from people. Dale, are you in cryptocurrency? Dale, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I didn't want to go down that road. I didn't even want to bring it up, but I knew I needed to because I was getting so much feedback about it. And this was November of 2017. And if some of you probably heard it. And I said, I don't know how anyone, this is a direct quote from this podcast, I don't know how anyone can call themselves an entrepreneur in today's world who doesn't have a basic understanding of the cryptocurrency market. I've told all three of my daughters, and I told them this at Thanksgiving. I just told them, this was about the time this was done. Whatever they can buy now, buy and do it now. If you can buy 1/100th of a Bitcoin, whatever you could, if you got $400 you can scrape together. At that time, it was 11,000, Bitcoin was 11,200 a coin. And in this podcast, I say, when it breaks 20,000, it's not going to slow down. Now, here's what people don't understand here. I believe in the 40-hour rule. We've talked about it on these sessions. I believe in that. Not with crypto. This is a 400-hour rule to get a little bit of insight. If you can find somebody that can communicate it in normal human language. It's really, I'll just call them nerds, and I don't mean anything derogatory about that, but it's just nerds. And it's like, I'm trying to listen in one sentence, and it's like I don't understand 3 of the words. And it's painful. It's very painful to try to learn this. And like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm at like a 2, maybe a 3. Okay. And I've spent a lot of time here, and I had in 2017, and I knew what was getting ready. I knew what was getting ready to happen in 2017, enough to tell my daughters, I don't care if your kids aren't going to have a good Christmas, take $400 or $500, go to Coinbase.com and buy Bitcoin. I told every member in my family. And the last time I was in Kentucky, my brother-in-law, who's a banker, who's a tremendous guy, he came up to, he's just kind of, yeah, you tried to get me to buy that 4 years ago, didn't you? He's retired now. He said, I could have a really good retirement if I'd listened to you. So again, there was no way, after listening and reading and studying and reading articles and reading books and getting this picture of what was going on here, that this was not going to be the future. Because when the United States came off the gold standard, everything financially went nuts. And again, I'm not going to get into this. I'm just saying you have to have some kind of understanding of the market in which you're dealing, because pop culture creates trends, and pop culture creates the emotional state of the world. Like it or not. I've never liked it, but it's the truth. And if we just kind of look here, these are World War II, post-war, the boomers 2, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z. And, we occasionally break up the boomers again into 2 different cohorts, because The span is so large, and the oldest of the generations have different sensibilities than the younger. In the US, boomers too are young, just young enough to have missed being drafted into the war, just barely young enough to miss the draft. This article came out April 2020, and it blew my mind when I found it, because I'm trying to do research. I had no idea this was true. But millennials have overtaken the baby boomers as America's largest generation. There's more, the millennials are the largest generation in the history of America, not the baby boomers. By 2030, not too far away, the youngest of the baby boomers will be 65 years old. The youngest by 2030. So I have a real yin and yang with this whole situation. Without question, the millennials that I've worked with over the last 15 plus years, and I'm saying last 15, are some of the smartest, most intuitive people I have ever worked with, without question. But to be fair, I initially run 90% of them off. Because if you are a millennial and you listen to me, you aren't a normal millennial. You're just not. You're just not. But my personal feeling, again, yin and yang, it's the most spoiled brat group of people that I have ever been around in my life. My generation created them. We spoiled them rotten, but they're spoiled brats. It's like every time I'm around one, I want to say, get your thumb out of your mouth. You know, why do you have to take a picture of everything you eat and post it on Instagram? I mean, it drives me up a wall. It's like, get a life. Get a life. You're 33 years old. What's wrong with you? I mean, but on the other hand, I could start naming people that are probably on this call or will be watching the replay. I mean, some of the most intuitive, smartest, aware people I've ever worked with. And we can talk about Christina, or Philip can too. And we can start naming a bunch of people, and you guys know. You guys know. I never will forget the first night Philip came on this webinar. And he's sitting there and he's just like, you know, and it's like, and talking to him afterwards, he said, it's like, man, I can plug my mom into this. You had people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all ages. I mean, he was just blown away by it because he had been in that millennial, you know, hang out with the cool kids crowd in network marketing for about 3 years. So a few years ago, I woke up and I realized that half of the adults in the world are younger than I am. That's an awakening time. This weekend, I had the paradigm shift that baby boomers are no longer my top target market. My entire network marketing career, my focus was, what are the baby boomers going to want? I had no idea that the millennials had overtaken the baby boomers. Now, this information blew my mind. This is showing, this blue is 1996, the dark blue is 2018. Okay, again, 2018, I couldn't find 2019, 2020, 2021. I have no doubt that the differential in these numbers are even greater, because the last 3 years has really been like the entrepreneurial revolution with millennials, without question. But if you look at entrepreneurs in the United States in 1996 and then 2018 by their age, 20 to 34, 1996, it was 34.3%, 2018, 25%. 1996, what am I, 35 to 44, 27.4%, 24%, 27.4, 24. 45 to 54, 25.3, 23.5. 50 to 64 in 1996. In 1996, 14.8% of the entrepreneurs were between 55 and 64. If you just look at this and you look right here, 34.3% of people between 20 and 34 today are the latest data. It's crazy how entrepreneurs now, it's like the whole millennials are growing and it's going to eventually take it over. Prior to that, I always looked at entrepreneur, you got to be at least 35 years old. And one of the best examples is probably Shopify. Shopify in 2004, a couple of friends, they took the internet to start selling their snowboarding equipment. They had a snowboarding company and they opened a store called Snow Devil. And the existing e-commerce platforms for online stores were okay, but one of these guys was a programmer and he decided, I'm going to build an e-commerce platform on my own. And he put 2 months into development and then they launched their store. 2 years later, in 2006, they launched Shopify, which is a way to build an online store. There was, prior to this, 3 or 4 cumbersome websites where you could do this. And ultimately, they felt like they could fill a niche for some type of platform that they were looking for when they first started to build out their store. Again, this was in 2006. Couple snowboarding kids decided to build out this Shopify platform. Then they took it public. And today, over 1 million businesses use Shopify. Over 1 million. When Don and I first looked at it, or when I first looked at it, it was like, dang, I love it. But the platform I'm using for the store at the time, it's like, it's free. It's built. Yeah, it's a little clanky sometimes and it gets cumbersome, but it's already built. How am I going to justify the cost for this? I missed it. I missed it. I saw it. Probably the first time was, I don't know, probably 2007 or 8. And I just totally missed it because that's what we do. We get comfortable where we are, what we know, and we don't get beyond that. We don't get outside of that. We get comfortable in this niche and what we know, and we don't look beyond it. And going to, while I'm thinking about it, this is a really good example. In the crypto world, you got your own old school Bitcoin crypto guys. They've been doing this for years. Like they were buying Bitcoin when it was $10 a coin. Okay. And they analyze all the charts and they're looking at everything. And that's their world. And then this year, something that makes absolutely no sense to me, I can't ever imagine myself investing in them, which means I probably will in the future. But are these NTFs and non-funded token and NFTs, non-funded tokens. And then you've got now gaming tokens. So you got all the traditional crypto people, the non-funded tokens people, which kind of connect with the gaming tokens people. So there's three groups. And these Bitcoin people who had to have some type of vision, understanding, beyond awareness of where the world was going and the markets were going, they had to have all that before they ever got into that world. Now they're experts in that world and they're stuck in that. They can't even think about this or that. And you see it in every single niche market. So it's like now, like today, right, at the time of this, unless we've sold one, Dawn and I have 4 Shopify stores, 4 different ones today. We should have done it 4 years before we did. But again, you get stuck in these mindsets and these ruts. So Shopify, when you look at it, when they first came out, a lot of value-focused, business-minded people, experienced people, they usually create a niche, and they find a niche, and once it's proven successful, what happened in Shopify is once it was proven that the platform works and it's good and it's solid and it started getting popular, and people that at one time would run traditional businesses brought their businesses online and started, you know, supplying products and services that, and the orders were taken through their Shopify store. Once all that was proven, then like most business models, then you start attracting the scam artists, and people are more interested in telling others how to do that which they've never done. And they some of these people try to do it quicker, faster, and easier. They get away from the core fundamentals, and then they start selling courses and teaching people a quicker, faster, easier way to do it. And then all of a sudden, traditional like Shopify owners that take the orders and ship the orders like we do on For the Beach, that's a Shopify store, or you know, the Evil Eye Collective, that's a Shopify store. And those people, what happened was some of them broke out, but what really happened was, you know, these scam artists come in and they say, I'm going to show you how to do it quicker, faster, and easier. And I could go through this and not stop. I just pulled the top 3 from Facebook for this presentation tonight. And look at some of this stuff. It's ridiculous. I can't see it but how I made whatever a day, how I turned $350 into 3.5 million Shopify drop shipping. See, so it became drop shipping became the thing. People are becoming millionaires from Shopify drop shipping. This is how. What is it? Didn't she say like she made $1 million a day drop shipping on Shopify? It's just ridiculous. All they want to do is get on the bandwagon and sell people a course to teach them how to do something that they've never done. And it became rampant. It's just rampant. But when you do that, there's always going to be unintended consequences. And eventually you're going to put the business model in the hopper. So here's the truth about drop shipping. It's like I've looked at it multiple times over the years. We could have done it. You could have done drop shipping before the internet. But the problem is, if you're waiting for somebody to fulfill your order and they aren't doing their job, you're going to have a tremendous amount of customer backlash. And all these people that were legitimately doing drop shipping, here's where their product is right now. It's stuck. It's been in these shipping crates for months. They're dealing with customer service problems like they've never had. And that's the challenge with legitimate drop shipping. But then here's the real question. Who drove the success of Shopify drop shipping businesses? It was the millennials who impulsively responded to Facebook and Instagram ads and say, oh, those are the same sunglasses that some superstar had on at some award show. They're fake, but I'm going to order them. I got to have them because so-and-so wore them. And that's what created this whole market. It exploded. I've never seen anything grow like this group. But the millennials created it. It wasn't the baby boomers. It was the millennials. And then it created from all that a level of greed, ego, and stupidity that I will never understand. But I promise you this, it would have not happened with post-war post-war generation, because their peers wouldn't have standed for it. Their peers would have not allowed this kind of stuff to be public or be going on, period. And you got these people saying, let me show you how to sell counterfeit items on Shopify drop shipping, holding his roll of money here. How I made $117,000 selling fake AirPods, Shopify drop shipping. Blatant, I'm gonna lie to you, and I'm gonna show you how to be dishonest. How Shopify gurus fake their sales. Why would they want to fake their sales? So they can show you all these sales that they're making, so they can sell you a $1,200 course that's a piece of junk. See, this bothers me. It just bothers me. It's like the network marketing guru that's going to teach you how to become a high-paid network marketing consultant, even if you've never sold your first customer or sponsored your first distributor. And oh, by the way, if you want to be a consultant, then you should probably take consulting first, and you can get into my private consulting class. It's only $4,900 a month. Thank you, Mr. Higdon. Fake Kylie Jenner lip kits could be dangerous. Where did they get them? Shopify. How these self-proclaimed gurus fake their Shopify results. Fakes exposed. What does this one say? Why 99% of the Shopify dropshipping gurus are fake. And you know what? That's really probably close to being reality. It's probably about 99%. So they just destroyed this business model. Scam artists ruined the market quickly, and then they've moved on to something else. Why did the flawed business model grow? Because the emotional state of the market determines your upside financial success. Gullible, ignorant millennials. That's what created it. What is the emotional state of most millennials? Facebook, Instagram, this is from Worldcast Media. Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, the modern and digital version of the axis of evil. In 1968, Andy Warhol was talking about the future. Well, the future is now, and it's the closest thing to a prophecy coming true. When social media proliferated, that they were heralded as the final innovation in communicating and social interactions. Everyone can be famous, and that's not figuratively, albeit for a short span of time. That this trio of platforms embodies our propensity of a short attention span that is even shorter now. Again, he's talking about Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. After a century of the dark ages of no digital lifestyle, it proliferated into an anarch obsession with fame to be an influencer. People don't just lick the Liberty Bell, pay models to hang out with them, hire videographers to shoot videos of them in their Airbnb mansion or their Lamborghinis they rent it for a day. They are trying to achieve fame by altering their lives in a 360-degree turn. You see this in every niche, but especially in the opportunity seekers world. Unfortunately, most people never ask for validation of any claims these people make. If they are holding a stack of money in front of a mansion with a fancy car beside them, no questions are asked. And see, I know what some of you are thinking, so just let me address it real quick. The difference is, absolutely, I knew that would get people's attention. There's no question I knew it. But on the inside, all it was doing was promoting our team members. That's what the whole magazine was on the inside. And it was real. It wasn't faked. It wasn't rented. It was real. So there's a big, 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 big difference. Continuing with the article, the 90s were the practical times in an era where you actually did things physically and in real life to create personal growth. You actually did things to create personal growth. Today, everyone is seeking shortcuts within the digital outburst as everyone tinkers and finger bombs their devices. All of a sudden, we're living in a multiverse technicolor world filtered superficially, and we've lost our true passion. Some would say our souls. Today, it's hard to find yourself more than ever amidst a jungle of charlatans of epic proportions. Life is good, and we made it complicated. Where is the lost art of humanity? The human race is not at a crossroads. It is way past that. The human race is not at a crossroads. It is way past that. There's been a lot of gray we allowed to become mainstream. Vanity drives most people nowadays. It is critical we return to transforming 15 minutes of fame into something worthy, responsible, and deserved based upon support of others or value provided, not what kind of sunglasses somebody is wearing. That's really good stuff. For those of us that don't study history, we're doomed to repeat it, yet those who do study history are doomed to stand by helplessly while everybody else is repeating it. You see this in every single business model. It's like the video store owners. When Blockbuster came into different towns, the first thing they did, from everything I've read, was go to the existing video stores, give them a heads up, say, look, we're coming in. We've put everybody out of business. We'll put you out of business, but we're willing to offer you a fair market value on your inventory. And that's how they went into towns. And some people saw the writing on the wall, but most didn't. But that's the way it all came down. And then Blockbuster came in and you're gone. And I remember I wanted to be loyal to my video guy. I really did. And I think I probably would have. I like to think I would, but he was about 2 or 3 years younger than me. I had my initial loan for my video store for Georgetown, and until my dad talked me out of it. The guy that was 2 or 3 years younger than me, he was a magician too, and took some business from me over the years. They would hire him once. That would be it. But I couldn't bring myself to support the guy. I would have liked to, and I know a lot of people did, and he hung in there as long as he could. But eventually Blockbuster took over the whole market. And that's what's going to happen. And then they had to deal with Netflix. And I don't know how, I mean, there's a phenomenal, I saw this on the way to Kentucky. It's unbelievable story on how all Netflix started and how they were out of business multiple times, but they believed in what they were doing and they knew they could overcome Blockbuster. And it's a fascinating story, but man, it was not easy going for them in the beginning, not easy at all. But now, how do we watch video? We sit back, pull up Netflix, figure out what we want to watch, we watch it. So it happens in every business niche. So the question is, what's the best way to products and services to get products and services in front of the millennials? Because guys, that's the market. Now, am I saying we aren't going to enroll baby boomers or create people that use our products that are baby boomers? Absolutely not. But that's not our market anymore. And our mindset has to change. Gut reaction is, I mentioned this in the Candy Vitamin Samples customer webinar. We probably should mention this in our promotions. I had no clue who Zac Efron was 2 or 3 years ago. No clue. And I'm talking with one of our daughters about negative ions and all that technology. And I'd read not Dr. Wallach, but y'all know I'm talking about the book, not Dr. Wallach, that's dead doctors. And I'd read the book and I was talking to one of our daughters and she said, oh yeah, Zac Efron, he did a whole Netflix special about this, about negative ions and coming from waterfalls. And she was all into that, all into it. And so it registered at the time. It registered enough to make sure I mentioned it in the customer webinar, but I never once thought about building promotions around that age group, because honestly, I don't like being around them. But the ones that are solid as a rock. So I just wanted to share this with you guys tonight. I don't think I have anything else. No, I don't. But this has been beyond a shift. Beyond a shift. Like right now, well, but it was beyond a shift. And we see a lot of us experience for about 5 or 6 weeks what happens when you match the right message in the marketplace, how quick and fast things can happen. A lot of you have experienced that. And no matter what, when you're marketing a product, it's the product or service in which you're marketing determines what kind of market that you actually have. And obviously the larger, broader your market, the quicker, faster you can grow. But the most important thing is, see, if I had an ad centered around this, like, did you watch this? Did you watch this, whatever this special was? I haven't seen it. I don't want to see it. But did you watch this? If you watch this, you're going to love this. And put the pack of product there. And then I can run a little ad and I can target every, what's his name, Zac Efron fan in the state of Georgia. It's going to cost money, but I could do that. So there's a lot of things that you can do if you understand who your real market is in any niche. And I've always understood my avatar. I get my avatar, but that's on a personal, who's like you, who is like you, who's like you. This is much, much broader than that, because the millennials, that's the market. That's the market. So,